Hey guys, it's Tape the Grape, and today I'm going to be taking a look at my new vehicle. Obviously, this is the replacement for the Lumina. That thing was super rusty. Figured I'd get rid of it, when I could before it completely broke. But again, this is my replacement. This is a 1998 Chevrolet Blazer. It is the two doors you can see. And yes, it does have a pretty decent sized ding in the side of it. Another thing you'll notice, which I didn't notice when I bought it, and I didn't notice it until after, gold wheels with a black Chevy emblem in the center. And if you go to the other side, and yeah, it does have a little rust, I'll show you, but it's not terrible. And on this other side, black rims with a gold Chevy logo inlay, which is wild. It is a little dirty, as you can see. I did just spray it down in the water a second ago, so it's not perfect. I didn't plan on making it perfect looking, but just to get the leaves off of it that it had on there. So anyway, it's obviously the 4.3 V6. I had this in my 91 Chevy S10 when I lived in Arkansas. And what's wild about it, I'll show you the interior now. Thankfully, even with the dent, it does open. But what's wild about it is the interior smell. It smells almost identical to my 91 Chevy S10. I guess it's just S10 smell. I don't know. But here's the door panel. It is missing some leather, vinyl, whatever you call it. Probably vinyl. Let's be real. But that, and it does have it on the other side. I don't know how well you can see with the sun glare. The seats are not terrible. It's kind of cramped, so I can't get a perfect angle of it. The interior. There we go. There's the other seat. Really nice. Again, it's the, let me see if I can scoot this forward. Hang on. There we go. Two passengers in the back, of course. Headliner's in really nice shape. It just overall seems like at least at one point, was a pretty well taken care of vehicle. Again, there's the back seat. They fold down. I'll show you the trunk in a second. But anyway, and what I like about the rear, you open it like this. It's got the handle down here. And it goes down just like that. It's got the spare wheel, of course. I have not taken the cover off yet because I tried, but wasn't able to get it. I'll work with it. It looks like a zipper, maybe. I don't know, Velcro. It does come with a Felpro intake gasket. The guy that I bought it from said that it looked like it had a small leak on the intake, but it went away. I didn't see nothing, but it runs and drives just fine, and I drove it maybe 30 minutes home, so it didn't overheat or it didn't seem to mess anything up, so it seems to be fine. But he was honest, and there's the part for it. Again, the seats fold down. Got ample cargo room. The four doors may be more practical, but I think the two doors do look a lot nicer. Again, I said it has rust. It does. Maybe you saw it on the little bumper there. But the frame, it's not terrible. Again, it's just I sprayed it with water. But you can see this little bit of frame here. That's about the way the whole thing looks. Not terrible at all. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. Body rust isn't terrible. There's some right there on the corner. And on the other side, it's a little bit worse because you can see I got a little patch panel there. And if you look behind it, of course, it's missing something. A whole little, what do they call that? Little rocker panel or whatever. And just before I test drove it, before I bought it, this had a little cover on it. It must have flew off when I was driving it, because clearly you can tell it's uncovered now. I didn't notice that, but that's not terrible. I'm not going to be towing anything with it anyway. At least I don't have plans to. And of course, like I said, it's the 4.3, same engine I had in my 91 Chevy S10 as well. Except this is the Vortec. I'm not entirely sure what's different about that versus the TBI version I had. I mean, apart from it maybe making more power and maybe some intake or something wise. Again, I mean, maybe it's just because it's fuel injected, not throttle body. That's probably the only difference. If you know, let me know. I'm not sure. But I do know the Vortec makes more than the TBI version, horsepower wise. Not by much though. Don't know if it has a K&N filter, if it's just a sticker put on this. It's probably the filter that's within it. I'm not sure. But either way, I'm going to start up here in a little bit and then take a test drive for you. I think my dad pointed out, I don't know if it's this, or I really don't know. He said the AC is not hooked up. I'm not worried about the air conditioner. The heat works though, which is good. It's all I need in the winter. Brakes are fine. Maybe could use more brake fluid. I don't know. But it doesn't seem to be using any, which is good. Like I said, it runs, drives, and stops great. A lot of creaks and squeaks, but let's start it up. To clarify, creaks and squeaks from when you're driving, not from the engine specifically, like suspension and stuff. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty decent. Let's start it up now. Pretty quiet exhaust, which is good. I was going deaf with the Lumina's exhaust, to be honest, with how loud it was. 4.3, basically a 350 with 2 pistons chopped off. Sounds pretty decent. Not as good as a V8 though. Runs smooth, real smooth. But oh yeah, let's take it for a test drive. One little thing that's wrong with it is the fuel gauge does not work, unfortunately. Everything else seems to be working fine. Oh yeah, like I said, everything did fine when I drove it. And when the shift indicator, 1, 2, 3, into drive, it doesn't have an indicator on that. But everything else is fine with it. Probably hear a bunch of creaks and squeaks and rattling in the interior. Cheap GM plastic parts, but oh yeah. And it does pull to the right a slight bit too as well. Oh yeah. Since I'm using one hand, I gotta slow down before I press turn signal because the steering wheel will turn right into the curb first. Shifts when it needs to, properly. Oh yeah. Works great. Again, it only has, like I said, because the gas gauge doesn't work, the guy said I have to use the trip odometer. I am going to get that fixed ASAP. But the mileage that's on it, 146,000 miles on the body. He claims, now he has no receipts. Well, the person I bought it from actually said the person they bought it from did it, had put a lower mileage engine in it. That doesn't mean anything. That could mean diddly squat and it's a lie, but I doubt that person's lying. Maybe the person he bought it from is lying, but maybe it's true. I don't know. I'm not going to go look at the VIN number on the engine that's on it now and see if it matches, but supposedly it has a lower than this mileage engine in this currently, which that, to be honest, 146,000 miles ain't terrible already, but I'm going to put it back on trip odometer, so I even put $20 in it, so even when I get to 250 on the trip, I'll still have gas in it, but that'll definitely be one of the first things I do fix on it once I finally get it registered, because I like to know how much gas I have. Funny little coincidence that my 91 S10 also had driver door handle, wibble wobbly. I'm going to have to put some self-tappers through it if I can't find any clips that'll like properly fix it. But my final thoughts on it. It's overall a pretty decent vehicle. You can tell at least at one point in time it was taken care of. Multiple owners, I'm sure. At least 3, maybe 4, if not more. But oh yeah, it's not terrible. You may be wondering the price I spent on it. Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you first off, the funny thing, despite all having the dents and everything, this is the most expensive vehicle I've ever purchased, but only by $100. The Mercury I had was $1,200. I spent $1,300 on this. And in today's society, in reality, that's pretty decent for a running and driving and pretty reliable so far vehicle. Despite the damage, the Not bad rust, but really, this is the $1,200, $1,300 car was the $500 car in the 90s, give or take, and maybe like the $200 car in the 70s, maybe $100 car, I don't know. So it's definitely the lower end used car market price these days, but it's not terrible for what it is, considering it's Midwest. It does have rust, but again, the worst thing at rust probably I'd have to worry about is maybe brake lines, and that's what my shop I go to, it'd probably $70 to replace a brake line. That is if it breaks, hopefully not, but not terrible. Oh yeah, there is duct tape holding that mirror on. I'll get that fixed eventually. It functions for what it is. Again, it's not a looker, but it's a driver, and that's all I need.